Hey everybody, it's Joseph here. I hope you're having a great week, and I'm excited to bring you another exciting broker topic on things that we're seeing in the industry right now that we definitely need to keep our eye on. So, today we are going to talk about the do's and don'ts of the repair addendum. This is something that we are seeing more and more come across our desk as it relates to potential conflict or disagreements in a contract. So, we're just going to go through, review this document, and find some different ways to look at it. So, basically, when this will show up is if you have a traditional sale where you have due diligence, the buyer goes and has inspections done during the due diligence period, and then they are going to present the repair addendum form 525 as a proposal for repairs for the seller to either accept, negotiate, or reject during due diligence. So a couple things that we're seeing in this and just the things to keep in mind. So let's just jump as always to the contracts because they are the ones who always answer the questions. And this is form 525, which is the repair addendum to the agreement to buy and sell real estate. So basically, at this point, we're going to cover a couple of things in here by reading this that are often misconceptions in this. So repairs. Parties agreed that the seller's expense they agree to complete in good faith and timely manner this addendum's written repair requests in good workmanlike manner while complying with all applicable laws, repair laws, and using qualified repair workers. Party agree that their intent in contract is that these sellers will hire qualified repair workers. Right? What this is saying is that they will say, we're going to agree that we're going to hire licensed, bonded, and insured contractors, roofers, electricians, HVAC workers, environmental specialists, anybody who's going to be working on the property. Now, this does say that the seller might be qualified, right, and adequately paint a portion of the property. Any sort of basic repairs or cosmetic repairs, those do not have to be handled by a licensed professional. This is an area that we just kind of misunderstand sometimes. We want everything to be done by a general licensed contractor. So if there are specific things that may fall into the quote gray area where they not may not require a licensed inspector, or excuse me, licensed contractor as specified there, then that is something as a buyer, if they felt that was important, that they would want to address in the repair addendum. So that's the first part. Now let's go to the next part. Next part, repair related items and documents, whether or not they're going to attach or not attach them. In my opinion, it would always be best practice for a buyer to attach the document here. Now, it is attached the document for reference. One of the things that I'm seeing quite often that I don't love, and if you do this, I have no judgment, but please stop. And that is see repair attached inspection report as part of the request for repairs. Do not do that, right? If there is something on the inspection report that you want specifically addressed, write it in the addendum. You can copy and paste it from their inspection report. We're going to come back to that where it can be risky, but the point is you want to have very specific instructions of the repairs for which your buyer is asking. The second part that we see that's part of a problem as it relates to the inspection report. A lot of inspection reports will come back and say, recommend a licensed HVAC contractor evaluate and service the unit. If you copy and paste that into a repair addendum and send it as a buyer's agent with love and respect, that is an incredibly lazy way to handle the situation because all you're doing now is you're telling the seller to go inspect something on the property for your buyer. And that is not what the due diligence period is. The due diligence period is for the buyer to do these inspections. So if something comes up and there's a recommendation that the HVAC be inspected and possibly serviced, service is one thing. You can ask the seller to service, but if they're recommending a follow-up inspection, that should be the buyer's responsibility. Just think about it for a second. Why would you ask the seller to inspect the property you're going to buy to tell you whether or not it is buyable? And buyable is a word, right? So just keep in mind, please don't do that. If there is a service that needs to happen on the HVAC, schedule the HVAC person to be out there so they can determine whether or not it's a problem. This is the number one issue that's coming up on repair conflicts right now is because what's happening is they're doing what I said earlier. They're copying and pasted, have it evaluated and serviced as needed. And then they hire their HVAC company. The seller hires their HVAC company. They come out and they say, we evaluated it, we serviced it, it's in functional order. That's within the bounds of the contract at that point. And if you didn't agree to anything differently as the buyer's agent, you're going to have to go to your buyer and say, unfortunately, we wrote a poor contract. So you just want to keep that in mind. The next part about this is once all this is done, there is the cure, notice, and period. This is very important. This is where you agree ahead of time of when the seller will complete these repairs. As a listing agent, please do not overlook that. This is super important. We're missing this quite a bit. So you want to make sure because if they miss that, and then the buyer comes out and says, hey, you didn't get this done, then they can actually give a cure notice, right? They can deliver this cure notice within so many calendar days. And then the seller shall cure the repair issues. Those repairs will be no later than a third date. So let's just say for even numbers, they could inspect the property to make, or you said you're going to have the repairs done 10 days out from the closing. Then the buyer goes out and they realize it hadn't been done. They can give you a cure notice 5 days out, and then you have to get them fully done 3 days out. If they miss that last deadline, this is an important part here. If they miss that last deadline, it is very clearly written here. If the seller successfully completes the repairs, then everybody will move forward. If the seller fails to complete the agreed upon repairs in this addendum, the buyer can accept the property, they can try to negotiate, or they can terminate this by delivering notice. So if you miss the final repair time, the buyer has a unilateral option at that point to terminate. And trust me when I tell you right now, they will. So, want to make sure, as far as repairs are concerned, two big things. Do not put into the repair addendum for the seller to do an additional inspection. That is the buyer's right and privilege per the contract for them to do during due diligence or during the specified contingencies. And number two, make sure that your seller is following the deadlines as it relates to the repairs being made, cure notice when the buyer can send it, and then the follow up for the repairs to be completed. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you're having a great day. Take care.